Hi, this is a Gold Prospector's Guide to Victorian Crownland Water Frontages. It's presented by Victorian Online Gold Maps at goldmapsonline.com.au. So here's a Crownland water frontage. This is Yarrawee River near Ballarat. It shows the extent of the frontage. Also shows other Crownland portions nearby, as well as shallow workings and a few mines thereabouts. So what is a Crownland water frontage? It's a strip of land that runs alongside designated rivers and streams. They vary in width from 20 to 100 metres or more in some cases. Approximately 30,000 kilometres of Victoria's water frontages is Crown land. The remainder is generally private land, parks or state forests. In England, most of the river frontages are privately owned. In Australia, the colonial governments began to recognise the benefits of establishing water frontages, and they initially were established for navigation purposes along the major rivers. But in the first 50 years of European settlement, the government sold off land which went down to the water's edge, which represented these percentages of coastline, lake fringes and the margins of major rivers. So here on the Yarra River, there's no Crown frontage at these locations, which belong to the rich and famous who have tennis courts right close to the river. And down on the peninsula, there are some properties where the private property goes to the high tide mark. This is a property by a well-known trucking magnate. So the influence of gold. Gold discoveries in the 1850s led to a substantial population increase in central Victoria, and with its decline there was a big demand for farming land. Settlements in most valleys meant that only partial sections of many streams have river frontages, as this land was sold off before decisions to retain river frontages were made. But the district surveyor in Ballarat, Mr. Taylor, began reserving frontages for all major streams in his area, hence the reason why the Yarrawee River has a frontage. Then in 1881, a reservation order reserved from sale the land bordering 272 rivers and streams, and here's the 1881 order, which shows the Avon River and the Mitchell River have 150 links either side of the stream as reserved. So the old parish plans show the original owners of the property and when they acquired the property from the Crown. So on the left-hand side we see a property with no water frontage that was sold from the Crown in 1866, and on the right-hand side, which has a Crown frontage, was sold from the Crown in 1904. And we might notice that the distance of the frontage from the river is 150 links. So what's a link and what's a chain? So Mr. Gunter established the chain, and it was used in surveying for measuring distance, designed in 1620, a long time ago, by an English clergyman. Chain is 66 feet long and it's divided into 100 links. The chain and link became statutory measures in England and the British Empire. So 10 chains is a furlong, 80 chains is a mile, and a cricket pitch is 1 chain long. and the minor roads surveyed in Australia and New Zealand were customarily one chain wide. Crown land water frontages. DELWP administers Crown land water frontages in Victoria, and in some cases Parks Victoria has a management role. DELWP can issue licences for a Crown land water frontage to the owner-occupier of the adjoining private land for grazing and or riparian management purposes, and they're usually issued for a 5-year period. The licence authorises the licensee to enter the land and use it for the specified purpose, and an annual rental is charged. It does not, though, give the licensee exclusive use of that land. The public retains the right to enter and remain on the land for recreational purposes, but cannot camp or light campfires on licensed Crown land water frontages. Pedestrian access must be provided at any fence that crosses the frontage by providing a stile or an unlocked gate. But public access may be restricted to protect revegetation areas or erosion control sites. If a Crown frontage is cultivated or reclaimed, you must get permission of the licence holder to enter the frontage, and you cannot remove, dig or cut any soil, sand, rock or gravel on a licensed water frontage. Access to the watercourses with no frontage. Can I walk up a watercourse where there is no frontage? No is the answer, but you may be able to navigate it in a boat or canoe. All watercourses belong to the Crown, and the Water Act 1905 transferred the bed and banks of watercourses on private land to the Crown, and this was later ratified in the Land Act. But in section 386 of the Land Act it says that the owner or occupier of the land that was transferred can sue a person for trespass if they enter that land. Hence the answer of no to the question above. So can I prospect in streams and on water frontage? The Department of Economic Development, Jobs, Transport and Resources says fossicking is not allowed in certain rivers and streams. And there's a list of accepted rivers and streams in the following. This order in 1914 listed a heck of a lot of streams in Victoria which were accepted. So the department relies on this order to enforce the prohibition on recreational prospecting or fossicking. And written advice from the department states that it considers a person who enters the areas, irrespective of the period of time spent there, constitutes occupation, and that fossicking constitutes mining. But what is occupation and what is mining? The order provides that the bed and banks and reservations of the streams, creeks, etc. are accepted from occupation for mining purposes under any miner's right. But the miner's right of yesteryear were far more extensive than what they are today. They allowed you to take possession or occupy Crown land for gold mining purposes subject to the bylaws. So what constitutes occupation of a property? Its possession, control, tenure, use. In the usual sense, occupation is where a person exercises physical control over land. The word occupation applied to real property is ordinarily equivalent to possession. And what constitutes mining? Well, we're lucky the Mineral Resources Sustainable Development Act 1990, under which the relevant order is saved, defines what mining means. Under the Act, mining means extracting minerals from land for the purpose of producing them commercially, and includes processing and treating the ore. A recreational prospector who casually spends time fossicking on Crown land is unlikely to occupy or possess that land, and a recreational prospector is also unlikely to be engaged in mining within the definition of the relevant act. But note, this is not legal advice, it's just an opinion. So the conclusion. So if the 1914 order is relied upon, would a successful prosecution occur in a court of law? Anyway, visit online, Victorian online gold maps, and there you can see where all the Crown frontages, water frontages are.